Well, good morning, KMA Tribe, friends, family, students. I am Stephen Del Castillo, founder and chief master instructor at Krav Maga Martial Arts, and I am coming to you today with my meditations on mastery about combating and controlling ADHD or whatever other dragon you're battling. And I'm going to come really freestyle this talk today. It's really, I'll share with you first of all that it's really been prompted by a discussion I had with a student and parent yesterday. And that number two, relevant to the message today is going to be, my black belt superpowers, and it's going to be the working geniuses of Patrick Lencioni, but they've all just been loose thoughts that have come. So we're actually going to kind of work through this together. I think it'll be fun, but I want to start with that conversation because I think it was so powerful. And I think that the discussion we had is one that may be a little more universal than it ever appears to the person going through whatever they're going through. And it all started with the mother asking me, do you ever talk to students who are having trouble at school? And I said, absolutely. And I asked, is your son having some kind of issue? And she said, yes, and explained it to me. And so I brought him in the office and we spoke to the young man. And I said, hey, sir, I want to let you know, first of all, you're not in trouble or anything. I just heard that you were having a little trouble at school, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about that. How can I help? And when he started talking to me, he said, this is exactly how he said it. He said, I have trouble controlling my anger because of my ADHD. And I started by telling him this. I said, well, sir, first of all, I want you to realize that your ADHD is, it's a condition, it's real, it's something, that you have to contend with, but that it doesn't have to define you or control you. And I said, in fact, I bet you don't know that sensei out there on the floor struggled with ADHD severely in youth. And I was talking about my son, Sensei Winston. And he was he was listening. And I said, so here's what I want you to do, sir. I said, and I had him explain more exactly what he means. Like, explain to me what happens. And, he gets the feeling of anger and he can't control it. And then he has an outburst. And I said, well, let me ask you a question, sir. I said, because I know you want to become a black belt. I said, how do you believe that the black belt version of his name would react in the same situation? And he said, he wouldn't get angry. And I said, he may still get angry, but he would control that anger. He wouldn't have the outburst. We went on and we talked more about that, about what it'll be like when this young man becomes a confident and competent black belt leader, prepared to survive and thrive in any situation, and empowered to lead where he's at and into his future. And then I said, at the end of that discussion, though, I said, but I know that doesn't help you now. I said, so let me give you a challenge. I said, what I want to challenge you to do is the next time you start feeling that anger rise up within you, I want you to ask yourself the question, what would the black belt version of me do? And I asked him, what would, and then I asked him, I said, do you think you can do that? He said, yes, sir. Now, of course, we know that's not the end of the thing. Of course, we know that's not easy. Like all of the things that any of us is struggling, battling with, trying to get better at, there are so many things that are simple, not easy. The simple means, okay, I understand. Well, it doesn't mean it's easy, because easy wouldn't mean that it was easy to do it. That's the part that takes the work. That's the journey. That's the, I explained to the young man in the discussion that when my black belt leaders get on the stage and give their speeches, they all, at one of the speech prompts, in fact, is, what dragons did you have to slay on the way to becoming a competent black belt? They all have amazing stories, because some may have dealt with ADHD or some focus issue. Some may have had an opposite problem where they were just very shy or confident. I don't mean to say opposite, because of course you can have both. But I'm saying, there are many, many different struggles and challenges and dragons that we have to encounter and engage and control along our way. The second part of the discussion yesterday was also part of what led to this message, because then I was speaking to the young man's father, and he said, and by the way, he's a very successful businessman. And again, I'm purposely being vague because I don't want to share somebody's private information. I just want to share what I think is this universal condition that we can all benefit from. After all, that's what we do through these messages, is try to deliver lessons and information that can be useful to you. Well, what the man said was awesome, because he said that he struggled with really severe ADHD growing up. And he talked about how his business, and these were the terms, he said what his business was. He said, saved my life. And that struck me in a couple different ways, because number one, I felt the same way about mine. I felt like I grew up and developed and became the master instructor and the teacher and the mentor that I get to be, the teacher that I get to be today with my business. And this man was able to control and defeat his severe ADHD. He said it was worse than his son because of what he did. And so that got me thinking about some of these other things. And the first one, as pertains to the superpowers, right? Because the first one is focus. And, not just in the obvious way that focus is relevant in this thing, that we do teach people how to focus their time and energy and attention, concentration, right? Lots of different definitions and permutations of the focus superpower that we develop along the way, but also just because we actually need to put focus on whatever dragon we're battling, but we need to put focus on it always in a positive, productive, and proactive way. And here's what I mean. The focus should never be, I'm like this, I have this condition, I have this challenge, I have this limitation, and so therefore I'm like that. That's not what we do. What we do is identify the focus of the thing that we want to get control over, and then we do the work to do that. And it ties very closely to the second black belt superpower, because the second black belt superpower is respect. And when we talk about respect in the dojo, we teach our students that there are two important types of respect that we're developing. And one is respect for others. But the one relevant to this discussion, most relevant to this discussion, is respect for ourselves. Because I teach the students that our inner talk, what we say to ourselves, is the most important talk of all. And let me tell you something, you're not respecting yourself if you claim whatever limitation you say is holding you back from what you want to do and who you're called to be. So focus on the problem, and then respect yourself enough to know that the problem is just a dragon to be slayed. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't let, look, I heard a mentor say it to me this way one time, many, many years ago. He said, every situation is either a reason or an excuse. Because I think that we all know that, we know people that with no legs that jump up on a stage and give their speech because they've chosen not to let their limitation limit them. So whatever it is, whatever physical, mental, emotional, financial, other, social, whatever is the thing that is the dragon that is holding you back, we focus on slaying that dragon, and we respect ourselves enough to know that we can. And the next one is discipline. And obviously discipline is needed, because we know that discipline is what ultimately creates habit, and habit creates consistency, and consistency creates results. And then focus, respect, discipline, confidence. And then as we begin to have some of these victories along the way, we begin to develop confidence. I can do this. I can do this. I did this. I can even help others do it too. So we have focus and respect and discipline and confidence. Then we have gratitude. Man, I'm so grateful that I live in an attitude of gratitude, because I still have so much further I want to go in so many areas of my life, so many more things I want to accomplish for thousands of students. We have a vision, which is the next Black Belt superpower, by the way, but we have a vision as an organization of creating 10,000 confident, competent Black Belt leaders in the next 10 years. Wow. That's a long goal that I'm stretching for. But at the same time, see, gratitude and vision, the fifth and sixth black belt superpowers, they work so hand in hand because we must always be grateful for how far we've come and have the vision for where we still want to go. And that's true with whatever we're battling, whatever is the challenge or the limitation or the hard wiring or it's not always hard wiring. Sometimes it's it's programming, and it can be negative programming from youth, or it can be negative programming because you're letting the programming program you today, whatever the thing is. But there's these distractions that want to keep us from the best and highest version of ourselves. And then I'm going to close on this. When the young man, the father young man, said about his business saving his life, I thought about, wow, he found what he was called to do. Chapter 7 of my book, by the way. But it got me thinking about how when you really, really find the thing you're called to do, it's something that you're passionate and excited about, how that can save your life. It can be life-changing as well. And it got me thinking about the work I've been doing in the book. I highly recommend Patrick Lencioni's Working Genius. And it's a program that we're using here. And, all my staff has taken the test and myself, and we read the books, and we're doing some training. And it's about discovering there's three areas of work for each individual. There's working genius. These are the things you're called to do. You love to do. It brings you energy. It brings you inspiration. My working geniuses are invention and galvanization. I won't go into the details of all that right now, but for example, all this, like the fact that I love to write and I love to do these things and podcasts and I love to create things, and that's all part of the invention. And galvanization is about inspiring people. And then the next two things are called, I forget exactly what he calls them, but they're things that, hey, these things I don't love as much. They're not my genius, but I can do them. My competencies, my working competencies. Mine are enablement and discernment. And then the last two are your working dreads. And by the way, the words that I'm throwing out don't mean what they're always exactly what they sound like, because my dreads are tenacity and tenacity and enablement are my dreads. So my working competencies are, let me look, actually, I got it right here. Genius here, where there's a team map here somewhere. Here it is. Mine, so my working geniuses, IG, invention and galvanization. My working competencies are discernment and wonder. And my working frustrations are tenacity and enablement. But see, when I look at this thing and I look at the rest of my team, the really cool thing is that there's other people where tenacity and enablement, my frustrations are their geniuses. And, there's people where my geniuses are their frustrations. So what am I saying? What's the relevance to this message? The relevance to this message is, even within your work, sometimes we think it means you have to completely change your career or do your work. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's just within your work. Figure out the things that you could really be the greatest at. If you're the leader, you get to kind of figure that out for your team and help put them in the right seats in the bus to accomplish the most. So as I said, this was a freestyle because we talked about a lot of different things, but I think that they're all interrelated in a powerful way. Because what we talked about is everybody's got something that they're dealing with, a dragon that they need to slay. It could be ADHD, or it could be it could be a physical handicap, or it could be, mental health or emotional resilience, or some other dragon that, could be just emotional baggage. But there's a dragon that you need to slay. I got mine that I still need to slay. We all have quests and dragons we need to slay. The second thing I said is that those black belt superpowers that I write about in my book, if you've never gotten a copy, if you're listening to this and you've never gotten a copy, ask for one. You can go to my website, stephen-castillo.com, and you can go in there and get a book. And I think we even put an electronic version or sample or something on my tampacravmaga.com website as well. If you're a student and you haven't got one, you just walk into my office and say hi, and I'd be happy to personalize one to you. But in that, the first 6 Chapters are the foundational black belt superpowers, which I talked about today: focus, respect, discipline, confidence, gratitude, and vision. And the seventh is about identifying your unique superpowers, because they give you a clue as to what is your unique calling. And then third, I talked about this working genius concept because I think it's relevant to the discussion as well. So that, because ultimately, on the other end, not only do we want to slay the dragon, but we want to live happy, healthy, positive, productive lives. After all, isn't all of this stuff really about that? Well, hey, this has been 50 minutes. This is a long one. But thank you for, if you've listened to here, thanks for taking the time with me. Prepare to live, empower to lead, and make it a great day.